All right, Nick, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a team I think we both agree has been doing things very interesting lately, and I think we're starting to see that they really thought ahead of the curve here, and they're doing something really smart, especially when it comes to their wide receiver room. We've seen the latest shoe to fall, the Justin Jefferson deal, the bunches of money they had to pay Jefferson. And I think the Steelers are on the opposite end of that spectrum, and it's really, really smart. Their ability to foresee what was going to happen with the wide receiver market and kind of zig when everybody else is zagging. Let's get in the article, and then I'm going to have your thoughts on what exactly they've done here on the other side. This is from over on Twitter from Field Yates, and it says 5 of the 8 highest paid non-QBs are now wide receivers. CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase could soon jump into the top 5 as well. The wide receiver market is exploding even during a year in which we had a historic wide receiver draft class. There's a strong case that wide receiver is viewed by the league as the second most valuable position right now. Now, I agree there's a lot of interesting information here. I kind of disagree with the last one. I think wide receiver is valuable, but I don't think it's deserving of the value. Nick, I'm curious what your thoughts are, but before we get to you, Steelers fans, in the comment section below, what do you think about this wide receiver situation that the Steelers have done? Do you think it's genius that they thought to trade away guys like Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, etc., and not pay them? Or do you think they should have paid these guys, and do you think that they were, trying to think too big for their britches? Let us know what your thoughts on this strategy is in the comment section below. But Nick, what do you think about Yates' comments here and what the Steelers have done?
So I think we look over the past couple seasons, and there's definitely been a high demand to use a lot of capital, whether dollars and salary cap or draft picks, to get rookie wide receivers. Now, what does that mean? It means that a lot of the NFL and competitions values the receiver position highly. But that doesn't mean that value is commiserate with reality. We see this all the time. Like people remember just a few years ago, remember when housing prices, real estate was going through the roof just because of everything going on, with COVID and everything at that situation, people moving, like housing prices were going absolutely bonkers. But the reality was there was a discrepancy between how much those houses actually were really worth versus how much people were willing to pay for them during that crazy real estate part of the time, right? And that's what we're seeing at the wide receiver position. What that means is that if you go back to that time, if you wanted to make the right move, the right business decision with your house, that was a seller's market. That was a perfect time to sell. And a lot of smart people did and made a lot of money. Same thing with receiver positions today. The smart teams are selling. The smart teams aren't going out and spending a lot of capital trying to get new receivers. Look at the smartest team in football right now. That's clearly the Kansas City Chiefs. They won back-to-back Super Bowl titles. What are they doing at the wide receiver position? They're drafting guys late in the first round, right? They're not trading up. They're signing veterans like Hollywood Brown on the cheap, right? They're not using a lot of capital. They're not spending a lot of dollars. They're not drafting receivers in the top 10. How about other smart teams, right? You look at, I know Steelers fans, you may not like to hear this a whole lot, but the Baltimore Ravens for the better part of the last 2 decades have been a very smart team. How much capital are they using on the wide receiver position? Not a whole lot. A lot of team-friendly, cheap deals. Maybe a late first-round pick here or there. They're very conservative compared to how much dollars they're going to use. Certainly not a top 10, top 5 first-round pick capital at the wide receiver position, right? You want to be one of the smarter teams. Now let's look at the teams that are spending a lot of dollars at the wide receiver position, and this is all according to overthecap.com. We obviously have the Minnesota Vikings. They spent a lot of money on Justin Jefferson. Literally, how good has Minnesota been in the last 15 years? They had that one miracle play in the playoff game against the Saints. That's it for 15 years. Not really a great organization. You have the Raiders, Devontae Adams. Don't really need to say too much more than that. The Lions, love the Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown. But look, the Lions won 2 playoff games last year, and people were just excited. It's the best year they've ever had in, since the 1950s, right? Not exactly long-term sustained success. And then you have the Cleveland Browns with Amari Cooper, right? So I don't even need to talk about the Browns. So again, you see what the smart teams are doing, the Chiefs, the Ravens. You see what the dumb teams are doing, Raiders, Browns. And then, of course, you forgot the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, what they've done, 2 guys spending a lot of money, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. The Dolphins haven't won a playoff game since before George Bush became president. That's a long, long time. You do not want to be the Miami Dolphins, obviously. So again, we're seeing what the smart teams with sustained success, what they do. We're seeing what the dumb teams or the not so smart teams are doing at the wide receiver position. And the Steelers this offseason, and really last year a little bit too, are making smart moves. They're selling high at the wide receiver position. It's the smart strategy to take. It is the right moves to make. And I'm not going to throw another rhyme in there, I promise. A lot of credit goes to Omar Khan. What he has done this offseason doesn't get as much credit as he should. There's a lot of big name GMs out there that get too much credit. Khan has done a great job making moves just like this to set the Steelers up for success.
Yeah, Nick, and I think we see it all around the Steelers team. The young wide receiver core, George Pickens, I think they can lean on him a little bit more. They bring in Quez Watkins on the cheap. We talk about it all the time. What are the most important positions on the football team? Obviously, quarterback is one. The Steelers took 2 stabs at it, and they got a heck of a deal on it as well. Very smart. Pass rusher. Steelers has arguably 2 really, really nice pass rushers, top 10 guys in the NFL. One of them could be the best pass rusher in the NFL, depending on your arguments. Then we have the DB position. The Steelers have 4 really good DBs. You got Joey Porter Jr., who seems to be really good. You go out and get Dante Jackson, a guy who I think is going to be really good. You go get Deshaun Elliott, a guy who's really started to grow into his own and become a true playmaker for a lot of teams. He did a lot of great things with the Lions. I think he did great things with the Dolphins, and you knew him from the Ravens as well. He was a budding star there before he got traded. And obviously you have Minkah Fitzpatrick. So I think the Steelers are spending the money where it's really important, and they're saving it when they don't win. Everyone else is seeing the wide receiver market come into a place where they're being the highest paid non-quarterback position in the entire NFL. The Steelers are like, well, I don't want to pay that money. Let's avoid that. Let's go out and be a little bit different at the wide receiver position, follow what smart teams are doing, and spend our money elsewhere. So I think, like you said, Omar Khan done a great job so far.